Hello everyone, welcome to this session. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about the topic the Delhi Sultanate. So in this particular lecture we are going to discuss about the Turkish invasions, that how the Delhi Sultanate or the Islamic rule over the territory of India in the boundaries of India started, and that started with the Turkish invasion. So we will discuss about it. Then we will discuss the rule of the 5 dynasty of Delhi Sultanate. We will talk about those 5 dynasty, and in this particular lecture we will talk about one of those 5 dynasty, that is the Mamluk dynasty. So let's begin our lecture. So how the Turks invaded the boundaries of India. So following the Arab invasion of Sindh, it was the Turks who made inroads into India in the 11th century. So in the 11th century, together with the Arabs, firstly the Arabs invaded the country of India, as we have discussed while we were discussing about the spread of Islam, that how the Umayyad dynasty have spread the Islam in lot of the territories of the Arab countries, and that happened and that extended towards the territories of India as well. So Arab invasion was done for the purpose of establishing or promoting the Islam in other countries also. Then together or after the Arab invasion, it was the Turks who invaded the territory of India in the 11th century. So the Turks are credited with establishing Muslim rule in India. So Arabs did not try to establish the Islamic rule or the Muslim rule over the India, that is making or legalizing the particular religion in India. But these were the Turks who established the Muslim rule or the Islamic rule in the territories of India. So Mahmud of Ghazni was Asia's greatest Muslim leader and a great fan of art and literature as well. So you must have heard about the name Mahmud of Ghazni or Mahmud Ghazni. He was the Asia's greatest Muslim leader or the greatest Muslim emperor, and he was also the great fan of art and literature also, as well as scholars such as Firdausi and Al-Biruni. So Al-Biruni and Firdausi were the great scholars, great Muslim scholars. He was also the fan of such scholars because he was very much inclined towards the art, literature and education also. So by establishing Muslim rule over a large portion of Indian subcontinent, when Mahmud of Ghazni invaded over the territories of India, he had captured the large portion of India, of Indian subcontinent. He permanently altered the nature of subcontinental politics, religion and culture. So we knew in India there were so many politic groups present, so many kingdoms present before the invasion of Turks. So also there were various religions and the culture was also very different in each part of the country. He completely or permanently altered such phenomena. He was drawn to India's enormous wealth. So India was very wealthy country, okay. Till the Gupta Empire it was considered as the golden age, as we all know. So India was a very wealthy country and Mahmud Ghazni was attracted towards the wealth of India. As a result, he raided India on a regular basis. He started raiding over India on a regular basis. From time to time he come to India and raid over it. He also included a religious component to his invasion of India. So by way of Mahmud Ghazni, another new religion was introduced in the territories of India, that is the Islam. He earned the moniker idol breaker by destroying the temples of Somnath, Kangra, Mathura and Jwalamukhi. So Mahmud of Ghazni is also credited and he earned the moniker idol breaker. So this was the kind of credit or kind of award given to any particular Muslim ruler in order to destroy any other culture or religion. So in India he destroyed the basic culture or the temples of the Hinduism, that is the temple of Somnath, Kangra, Mathura and Jwalamukhi. So this was the things that happened during the Turk invasion, specifically by the Mahmud of Ghazni. So then in 1030 Ghazni died and Muhammad Ghori rose to power. So after Ghazni it was Muhammad Ghori who came in 1030. After the invasion of Muhammad of Ghori, the foundation of Islamic rule began in India. So it was Muhammad Ghazni who introduced Muslim rule in India, but then it was Muhammad Ghori, after whose invasion a proper systematic Islamic rule began in India. He is credited with establishing Muslim rule in the Indian subcontinent, which lasted for centuries. Until now we are seeing, because the culture was introduced by Muhammad Ghazni and then Muhammad Ghori is credited with establishing a proper legal rule in India, that is of Islamic rule. He ruled over parts of modern day Afghanistan also. So Bangladesh, Iran, Northern India, Pakistan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. So these were the countries on which, or in that time, these were not the names of the countries in actual, but in present day Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Iran, Northern India, Pakistan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, these were the regions where the territory of or the empire of Muhammad Ghori was expanded. Then let's talk about the first battle of Tarain. So it happened in 1191 AD. So Muhammad Ghori attacked the fortress of Bhatinda and then made his way into the kingdom of Prithviraj Chauhan. So we all knew that the first battle of Tarain that held between Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan, a well-known ruler of our country, Prithviraj Chauhan. Muhammad Ghori entered from the northern India and attacked the fort of Bhatinda, and he entered into the kingdom of Prithviraj Chauhan, where he was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan. So for the first time, in the first battle of Tarain, Muhammad Ghori tried to rule over the fortress of Bhatinda, but there he was stopped and completely defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan, and Bhatinda was recovered again. In the second battle of Tarain, then again, because Muhammad Ghori did not able to take up the defeat from Prithviraj Chauhan, he again attacked over the Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tarain, and Muhammad Ghori then defeated with the combined forces of Rajput rulers led by Prithviraj Chauhan. In the second battle of Tarain, although Prithviraj Chauhan had gathered the large army and combined various other Rajput rulers also, but Muhammad Ghori's army was so big, so powerful that it defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tarain. Qutbuddin Aibak was assisted in the battle and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan as a prisoner, later putting him to death. So Prithviraj Chauhan was made the prisoner, and Qutbuddin Aibak is known for building Qutub Minar in Delhi. So Prithviraj Chauhan was taken as the prisoner. He was not killed in the battle, but he was taken as the prisoner to Afghanistan by Muhammad Ghori. For the first time in Indian history, Turkish rule began with the conclusion of the second battle of Tarain, when Muhammad Ghori got victory in the second battle of Tarain after defeating Prithviraj Chauhan, who used to be the greatest emperor of India. Turkish rule started to begin in the subcontinent of India. Then Muhammad of Ghori appointed Qutbuddin Aibak as his commander, because it was Qutbuddin Aibak who assisted in the battle of Tarain and captured Prithviraj Chauhan and brought him to the prison as the prisoner. So that is why Muhammad Ghori was very much impressed by Qutbuddin Aibak and he appointed him as the commander of his army. Fought the battle of Chandavar in 1194 AD against Jaichand of Kannauj of the Garhwala dynasty and killed him. This battle gave Muhammad control of much of northern India. Then second battle was held between the ruler of Garhwal dynasty, that is Jaichand of Kannauj, and after defeating him, after killing him actually, he did not make him the prisoner, he directly killed him in the battle of Chandavar in 1194 AD. After killing the ruler or Jaichand of Kannauj of Garhwal dynasty, Muhammad Ghori have now much control over the northern India, over most of the parts of the northern India, because firstly he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan, who was ruling in the area of now Punjab, that is in Bhatinda, and then afterwards he also captured the Garhwal area or the Garhwal dynasty of Jaichand, and this is how Muhammad Ghori have captured most of the parts of the northern India. Then after the death of Muhammad Ghori, Qutbuddin Aibak continued his expedition and conquered Kalinjar, Mahoba and Khajuraho from the Chandel rulers of the area. So during that time, the Chandelas were ruling over some territories of, or you can say in the middle central part of the country. So when Muhammad Ghori died, it was the Qutbuddin Aibak who continued his expeditions and he started conquering over more parts of the India like Kalinjar, Mahoba and Khajuraho, that is present in today's Madhya Pradesh, and he took away the whole kingdom from the Chandelas. Thereafter, Qutbuddin Aibak defeated Bhim III, the ruler of Gujarat also, and Anhilwara and a number of other towns were ravaged and plundered completely. So Qutbuddin Aibak played a very dirty part here by completely ravaging and plundering the cities and many towns of Gujarat, where he defeated the Bhim III, who was ruling over the Gujarat region of India. So now we can see that firstly the Turks have covered the area of northern India, then they moved towards the central India, and now they have also captured the parts of west, that is the area of now Gujarat. Then following the invasion of South Asia by the Ghurid dynasty, 5 unrelated heterogeneous dynasties ruled over the Delhi Sultanate sequentially. Now not only the Turkish invasion is named as Turkish invasion because these were the Turk countries who came to India. The Turk region, the countries or the rulers who were ruling in the Turk region came to India and looted upon it and completely invaded and ravaged and plundered it and started ruling or established the Islamic rule in the country. Now following with these Muhammad Ghori, or you can say Qutbuddin Aibak, more dynasties from the South Asia and particularly from the Ghurid dynasties, 5 unrelated, means 5 more rulers came or 5 more dynasties came to India to invade it, and they were not related with each other, they were completely different from each other, and they came in India and ruled over the Delhi Sultanate. So first comes the Mamluk dynasty, that is from 1206 to 1290 AD. Then the Khilji dynasty, you all have heard about the name as Khilji. So Khilji dynasty from 1290 to 1320 AD. Then came the Tughlaq dynasty from 1320 to 1414 AD. Then comes the Sayyid dynasty and finally the Lodi dynasties. So these were the some of Islamic rulers or Islamic dynasties that ruled over the, or you can say these are the Turkish dynasties, or this whole phenomena, this whole era came to be known as the Turkish invasion over India. So now you need not to get confused with the Turks and with the Mughals. Mughals were from completely different lineage and they were different kind of dynasty that we will discuss in our further chapters. But these were the Turkish invasion was completely different from that of the Mughals. So these are the 5 main dynasties that came to India and ruled over the Delhi Sultanate, and these were all the Turkish dynasties. So now we will discuss about these 5 dynasties one by one. So we will begin with the Mamluk dynasty, that was the first dynasty that came to India, that is from 1206 to 1290 AD. So the Mamluk dynasty was the first of 5 unrelated dynasties. These were not related, they were not relatives to each other. These all 5 dynasties were completely unrelated. So it was the first of these 5 and came for the first time in the Delhi Sultanate to rule over the Delhi Sultanate until 1526, founded in North India by Qutbuddin Aibak. Aibak rose to power when his Ghurid overlord Muhammad of Ghor was assassinated. So Aibak rose to power when his Ghurid overlord Muhammad of Ghori was assassinated. So how Qutbuddin Aibak came to become as the ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, that after Muhammad of Ghori was assassinated, it was Qutbuddin Aibak who started ruling over the Delhi Sultanate, and he started conquering over various presidencies of India. Then however, his reign as the Sultan of Delhi was very short-lived, as he himself died in 1210. So he did not rule over the Delhi Sultanate for a long time because he himself died in 1210. And then his son of Qutbuddin Aibak, Aram Shah, rose to the throne. So Aram Shah got the throne after the death of Qutbuddin Aibak, and then Aram Shah was again killed by or assassinated by Iltutmish in 1211. So Aram Shah was not able to even be on the throne for more than 6 months, as Qutbuddin Aibak died in 1210, and in 1211 Iltutmish assassinated Aram Shah. Aram Shah was the son of Qutbuddin Aibak and Iltutmish was the son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak. So Iltutmish killed Aram Shah and gained the throne of Delhi Sultanate. The Sultanate under Iltutmish established cordial diplomatic contact with the Abbasid Caliphate. So Abbasid was the third caliphate or the third Khalifa between 1228 to 29 AD and had managed to keep India unaffected. So Iltutmish had protected India from the foreign invasions or from any other invader from any dynasty, either the Turkish invasion or any other kind of invasion, because he made diplomatic relations or contact with the Abbasid Caliphate. of Genghis Khan and his successors. So during that time, during the time of Iltutmish, it was Genghis Khan or popularly known as Genghis Khan. He was capturing most of the territories of the whole world. He was controlling most of the regions of the world and was invading and capturing and was making his invasions very brutally also. So Iltutmish protected the territory of India, or he protected his own kingdom from the outside invasions of Genghis Khan and his successors. Then Iltutmish died in 1236, and thereafter a series of weak rulers remained in power. Okay, so when Iltutmish died, Iltutmish considered to be a very strong Muslim ruler. So when he died, a series of weak rulers came in the power, and number of noblemen gained autonomy over the provinces of the Sultanate. So there were various noblemen who gained over the provinces of the Delhi Sultanate. There were so many provinces in the Delhi Sultanate. So after the death of Iltutmish, many provinces were divided into various noblemen of those areas. Then power shifted hands from Ruknuddin Firuz to Razia Sultan. Now Ruknuddin Firuz was the son of Iltutmish and Razia Sultan was the daughter of Iltutmish, until Ghiyasuddin Balban rose to the throne and successfully repelled both external threats and internal threats to the Sultanate. So Razia Sultan got the throne from Ruknuddin Firuz because of her capabilities, and Razia Sultan came to be known as the first female Muslim leader of the country. So in any part of the world, wherever there was Islamic rule, Razia Sultan in India became the first female Muslim ruler over any territory. So the power shifted from Ruknuddin Firuz, who was the son of Iltutmish, to Razia Sultan, who was the daughter of Iltutmish, and after that, not the power remained in the hand of Razia Sultan also, it moved to Ghiyasuddin Balban, and he rose to the throne and successfully repelled both the external threats as well as the internal threats and established himself as a very successful ruler. So when we started discussing over the Turkish invasions, what we have learned? That first of all, it was Muhammad Ghazni who came in India and who came in the Indian subcontinent and introduced the Muslim rule. Then afterwards, when he died, Muhammad Ghori came to India and established the complete Islamic rule over the territories of India. So when we talk about the Delhi Sultanate, on number 1 comes the Muhammad Ghazni. Second is Muhammad Ghori or Mahmud of Ghazni or Mahmud of Ghori. Then he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan. So it was Prithviraj Chauhan who was having the Delhi Sultanate before the invasion of the Turks. Then after Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan, he captured most of the northern India. So he captured the northern India, and then after his death, he died or he was assassinated. Then his commander-in-chief, that was Qutbuddin Aibak, he started ruling over the Delhi Sultanate. He himself became, because he was the commander-in-chief of Muhammad Ghori and he was thus assassinated. So Qutbuddin Aibak started ruling over the throne of Delhi Sultanate, but he did not rule for much time as he died, and then his son came on the throne. That comes on number 4, that is Aram Shah, but he was again assassinated by the number 5 ruler, that is Iltutmish. Iltutmish was the son of law of Qutbuddin Aibak. Then after Iltutmish, he ruled over most of the part of Indian subcontinent and had made diplomatic relations or contact with the Abbasid dynasty in order to make India unaffected by the invasions done by Genghis Khan outside the territories of India and by his more successors. Then after Iltutmish, when he died, the throne came in the hand of Ruknuddin who was the son of Ruknuddin Firoz, who was the son of Iltutmish, but because of his incapability or incapacity, and in front of him Razia Sultan, who was much capable and had more capacity to rule over the throne of Delhi Sultanate. Razia Sultan took up the throne and became the first Muslim female ruler. First female Muslim ruler of India. Okay, so this is a basic chart of the Mamluk dynasty. All these come under the Mamluk dynasty, or you can say from Qutbuddin Aibak the Mamluk dynasty started. So Razia Sultan was the first female ruler, and after her it was Ghiyasuddin Balban who rose to the throne. So this is how, or till this lineage, the Mamluk dynasty existed on the throne of Delhi Sultanate. So in this lecture we have discussed about the Turkish invasion. We understood how various rulers came and ruled over the territory of India, and it started from the first battle of Tarain when Muhammad Ghori got defeated from Prithviraj Chauhan, but then in the second battle of Tarain he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan and made him his prisoner, and afterward he killed him also, and from there the Mamluk dynasty started. Then Qutbuddin Aibak came in the course, and so many rulers that we have discussed in this lecture in complete detail. We have discussed their lineage and how they have gained over the throne of Delhi Sultanate. So for now, this is it in this lecture. Thank you so much for your patience listening. Take care and bye-bye.